And people of color, particularly black people, have to wake up. They have to wake up. If they haven't seen now, I've said this before that Biden was going to be another Trump, but a nicer version. And that now black people are falling back in the same game. They'll wait another 4 years and fall back in the same game. It doesn't surprise me.
Welcome to the Daily Detox Podcast. I'm your man, Dion J. And today we have back again good brother Leroy Thorpe. Welcome back to the show.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, brother Jenkins. It's always a pleasure to be on your Detox Podcast. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Man, we haven't talked in a while, so let's just get right to it, man. What's up with your boy Joe Biden, man? He passed the anti-hate bill, and we can't even get the anti-lynching bill passed. That's been around for almost 100 years, but the Asians get some type of reparations already. What's up with that?
Well, you have to look at the Asian culture. You have Japan that's probably leading the world, along with China in technology. Asians stick together. You have an African continent. You have an African continent where we have a lot of resources, but you have a lot of brothers and sisters over there that's not organized. So the Asian has, they do pretty good with the yen. So they're United States' biggest competitor when you look at technology, when you look at an armed military force, and they're spreading, they're going all over the world, man, basically going other parts of Africa and even into the Latino countries, and they're establishing economic, technological relationships to establish putting military bases there. So America is not foolish. They're going to try to appease the Asians here in this country to be able to not have conflict.
I'm calling 911. After months of brutal attacks during the COVID-19 pandemic,
we never know when we're at the wrong place at the wrong time,
and xenophobic messages against Asian American people that culminated in this deadly shooting in Atlanta, a study released this year spotlights that hate against Asian American people has been happening for years. The study is called Hate Crimes Against Asians. The report looks at numbers from the U.S. Census and the National Incident-Based Reporting System between 1992 and 2014. It compared hate crimes against Asian Americans to hate crimes against African Americans and Hispanic people. After crunching the data, researchers found victims in all three groups tend to share similar demographics, with hate crimes mostly targeting young men between 18 and 34 who live near where they were attacked. And the analysis also revealed some differences. According to the study, Asian Americans have a higher risk of being attacked by strangers, are less likely to be assaulted in their homes, and are more likely to be targeted at school. It also found Asian Americans have a higher chance at being victimized by non-white offenders compared to Black and Hispanic people. The authors attributed that stat to Asian Americans often being labeled the model minority by other minority groups. It's a stereotype assuming Asian American success in economic, education, or other opportunities creates potential competition or threats by people in other racial groups, which in turn may lead to resentment and result in hate crimes. This study hopes to offer knowledge and understanding of cultural diversity, increase the awareness of violence against Asian Americans, and promote mutual respect. Michael Quander, WUSA 9.
I don't want to put down the Asian culture. There are some things about it that I do admire. Their discipline, their hard work, and even some of their food, the culinary skills. But from the social observation, living in this country, I've seen them, and I kind of have to shake my head. I've seen them walking around now emulating white people with dogs, you know, and that's not what they usually do. And every time I see a Asian girl, she's with a white boy, you know, usually with a white boy. So it's basically signals to me that they have low self-esteem about their own culture, to think that they have to basically assimilate into European cultures and values in order to be validated. Another observation I've seen with the Asians, and why they're not probably gaining a lot of support from black people who've been a victim of American oppression for many, many years, is because Asians are basically selfish. There's been some incidents prior to this, the Asian hate so-called syndrome that people are saying going on, because there's been conflict between Asian entrepreneurs and black people, particularly in carryouts, in terms of how they treat black people, disrespecting them, not talking to them properly.
You do know black people have been beating up Asians for years, right?
In China, it's normal to act racist towards black people. The difference is Asian people don't usually confront people and announce their views and opinions out loud like a lot of racist whites would, so it's not as well known.
People are protesting for black lives, but now they're using this as an excuse to target the Chinese community.
I won't totally call it racism. We don't think they're inferior humans. We have a fair skin obsession that shows class or caste preference.
Those were just a small fraction of the comments we've seen and even received on social media, illustrating the tension between the black and Asian communities.
These are highly divisive times when Asian Americans are being targeted from coronavirus-related hate, discrimination, and violence, as we've reported in recent months.
And when the Black Lives Matter movement has been reignited as black people continue to die at the hands of police officers at disproportionate rates, the anger and frustration between the black and Asian communities can't be ignored.
So we wanted to explore how we could be allies for each other, how we could combine forces and make positive change that benefits us both. But first, we must understand our long and complicated history.
While there is sometimes anti-Asian sentiment and otherness we feel in interpersonal relationships or encounters on the street, for example, that is very different from the anti-Black, multi-generational systemic violence that's happening.
Bianca Mabute-Louis is an Asian American studies educator and says historical context is key.
But I really try to frame these conversations against this oppression Olympics because, again, it's not helpful, and try to frame for them like that's how, you know, these systems and these white supremacist leaders want us to think.
American Black history is different from other minorities because of slavery. As you move further up America's timeline, though, Mabute-Louis says Black and Asian communities often found themselves in interconnected struggles.
Yellow peril is the stereotype from when Asians first started immigrating to this country for labor and for the gold rush. That Asians are dangerous, that they're dirty, they carry diseases with them.
Mabute-Louis says Black communities wrote letters and sent food to Japanese people in internment camps, and Filipino and Chinese organizers in the Bay Area were inspired by the Black Panther Party. But around the late 60s and into the 80s, the model minority stereotype emerged and was even used by President Ronald Reagan.
He wanted to defund social welfare programs. He wanted to dismantle affirmative action. And so what was really convenient for him to use at that time was the model minority stereotype, which is the stereotype that because Asian Americans have a strong work ethic or good family values,
that they are somehow better. That harmful rhetoric helps fuel divisiveness today and did in the following cases. 1982, 27-year-old Vincent Chin is beaten to death.
1991, 15-year-old Latasha Harlins is shot in the back and dies.
2014, NYPD officer Peter Liang shoots and kills Akai Gurley.
2017, an 81-year-old Asian woman is pushed off a Muni platform.
2019 and into 2020, Asian American elder abuse spikes in San Francisco.
2020, boba guys face intense backlash amid reports of racist comments. So where do we go from here? Already we're seeing shows of solidarity across the country and right here in the Bay Area. In Chicago, more than 1,000 marched from a Chinese church to an historically black one, a show of unity between communities that have both suffered in different ways.
Mabut Louis has created Instagram slides about how to talk to Asian family members and friends about the Black Lives Matter movement. Whatever the method, the systems designed to hold back both the Black and Asian communities is still the same system.
And just coming into our communities and just sucking the wealth out, and not even really living in these communities, but just set up these storefront type of Chinese carryouts and taking the money out into suburban Virginia or in Maryland, where that money would turn over. It doesn't turn over in the black community. So a lot of black people not supporting them. Their situation with this hate situation based on mostly Donald Trump saying that the virus originated in China. And that's what started all of this so-called hate on the Asians. But the Asians don't really support no one but themselves. They're kind of like, they're very selfish. They stick to their own kind economically. They don't get involved with other people's social issues, particularly the civil rights issues or human rights issues affecting African Americans and other people of color, Latinos issues. So right now they're having a very hard time. But you find the media trying to advocate on their behalf to try to get some of these so-called assimilated Negroes to fight for their causes. This should be a wake-up call for black people to basically organize to, first of all, come together.
Right.
First of all, come together, start putting your wealth together, and start turning over those dollars in the black neighborhoods and taking those dollars and investing in education, vocational training, our culture, our history. A lot of our people don't even know our own history.
Yeah, the Tulsa massacre was like the 100-year anniversary that just came up. Did you?
Yes, I do. And now they're talking about, the folks are pushing for reparations, but
reparations,
and thank you. In Oklahoma, they should be pushing forward for African Americans.
Black leaders in Tulsa are demanding reparations over what happened in the Greenwood district. Is there any momentum behind these efforts? What can you tell us about specific changes officials want to see as they move forward?
There's plenty of momentum. I think if you talk to anyone here, any official, most people will say that reparations are owed. And as a matter of fact, back in 2001, a state commission actually said that survivors and descendants are owed reparations. But what seems to be the issue here is what that looks like. What are reparations? What does that mean? What monetary value will be enough? Is there even enough that you can give people who are survivors and their descendants? And then when you think about descendants, how far are you going to go back when it comes to descendants? So when you hear the word reparations here in this community, is a very divisive topic. It is one that I think people agree on holistically, that there needs to be some reparations, but what those reparations are seems to be what keeps this community divided.
Again, this should be a wake-up call, to black people that this country is not going to give you anything unless you take it. And that's why the Black Lives Matter movement was significant. But it's dying down now, and it's basically being chorused by homosexuals and gays to try to link up with that. And
you've seen a lot of them trying to profit off of
absolutely
Black Lives Matter. They say that since even though you run an organization, they're saying that these people who run these organizations have multiple skill sets that generate income outside of the Black Lives Matter movement. So one of the founders lives in $1 million home, and they're kind of like, okay, where's that money coming from?
Black Lives Matter was founded intentionally so that it could become an LBGT front to take over the traditional heterosexual male and female-led civil rights movement. In other words, we're going to co-opt the black struggle and we're going to redirect it into LGBT channels. That was the purpose of Black Lives Matter.
Corporations that gave this group the big tons of money.
Big tons of money. You see that it got 90 million. That's the big thing now. That it collected 90 million. You see Michael Brown dad said, I need 20. And guess what? He's entitled to that. Y'all used his son's image. All of them. Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner. Because Black Lives Matter, they are good with their marketing. They stay out in the forefront. So naturally, if you want to give, you're going to give to them.
Who funds it?
George Soros is one of the funders, right? But with that 90 million that they collected from black people, they should be redistributing that. And the first thing you need to be doing is going to the families of all of the police genocide victims and making sure they comfortable. Because some of them ain't got no money. Did you see Tamir Rice's mom? They gave her son's estate, what was it, a $5.5 million settlement, something like that. After all the lawyers got paid, she was left with less than $1 million. You see that? So Black Lives Matter should be going to her saying, listen, you go $3 million from the gate. Take care of those who are responsible for the money you raise. And let me be honest, maybe they're doing that. You understand me? So I do want to be respectful and say maybe they are taking some steps to rectify the financial contradictions. But they better do it fast. Because right now, people are looking at them as like some stone cold hustlers right now. With that $90 million raised, and ain't none of it went to the families of the victims. So who knows? Who this going to, Queen?
And they're like, well, I guess she has published some books, and there's a few different things that she's involved with from investment standpoints. So her being a part of Black Lives Matter gives her that notoriety to be able to make that money, because she has that, that social media promotion.
In other news, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Patrisse Cullors, says she's stepping down. This comes following what she calls a smear campaign from a right-wing group and other black organizers. Cullors has been at the head of the BLM Global Network Foundation for nearly 6 years and will no longer be the executive director of the movement's foundation. She says she's leaving to focus on other projects, including the upcoming release of her second book and a multi-year TV development deal with Warner Brothers. Recently, she was accused of using money from the foundation to purchase a Southern California home. Cullors spoke with me right here on BNT about the controversy.
You're doing something that many people haven't done, Black women at the forefront. That is hard to comprehend. That's hard to understand. But I promise you that what I have done, with what other BLM leaders have done in the organization, and what we're trying to do is get Black people free.
Cullors' last day with the BLM Foundation will be tomorrow. Her book, An Abolitionist's Handbook, is set to be released on October 5th. Her first TV project debuts in July.
What needs to happen is that black people should, when they have organizations like that, should keep everything basically black and focus on black issues and allow these so-called other people, white folks, gays, whatever, you go back to your community and start organizing your people that are perpetuating all this so-called oppression on black people. You organize them in your own lesbian, gay coalitions and white coalitions and get them together and let us do our own thing. That's what we need to do our own thing, look out for our own issues, control our own organization, raise our own money, and invest our money in our communities so that money will turn over and we start re-educating our people and also bringing back a level of morality that we used to have before these black people start thinking that homosexuality and lesbianism is okay because some mad psychologists come up with this and to say it's normal behavior, when in fact all the holy books condemn it, whether you're a Jew reading the Torah or a Christian reading the Bible, and last revelation, whether you're a Muslim reading the Quran. These are people that are making these man-made laws to overturn divine law to prepare the way for the Antichrist, the Dajjal, unity.
So, did you see that picture that surfaced with Kamala Harris and the rapper?
So, Lil Baby, he had met with Kamala Harris. And in his caption, he said, big shout out to VP, which is Kamala Harris, for taking the time out of her busy day to sit with me and have an open discussion. This is hashtag we got to start somewhere. So for those who don't know, Lil Baby came out with a song this summer called The Bigger Picture. And in The Bigger Picture, he talks about, a lot of political unrest, a lot of political uprising and things like that. And Lil Baby decided to make a song about it. And in that song, he references, he shows a lot of the protests, because we know all the protests took place in the summer of 2020, and he dives into, what should be happening. And obviously he made his statements known. But after the song was released, Lil Baby was very adamant to let everybody know, hey, I'm not a political rapper. You know what I'm saying? Even in the song, he says, yeah, I rap about killing and dope, but I tell my youngest to vote. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for, what I'm saying, the political consciousness. I liked where you were going, but you just sat there and stated that you rap about killing and dope, but you're telling your youngins to vote. That's gonna make a difference, because we've been voting since 1965, since 1968. We've been able to vote, and it's, the killings are still happening. You know what I mean? You mass promote. You even admitted it. I mass promote killing and dope and selling drugs and taking drugs and doing all these things. So I say all of that to say this: why in the hell is Lil Baby, the same rapper who talked about rapping about killing and dope, even in his political song, The Bigger Picture, in a meeting with Kamala Harris? Why is a rapper who admits he raps about killing and dope in a meeting with Kamala Harris instead of, I don't know?
She's using him kind of as a publicity stunt to, capture and recapture the black vote. And, there's a clip out there, audio clip of Moneybagg Yo saying, hey, I might talk about, shooting people, X, Y, and Z and doing drugs, but, I get people to vote as well. And I'm like, she's meeting with rappers, but she's not meeting with civil rights leaders. I mean, she's yet to meet with any civil rights leaders as she's been in office.
Well, the civil rights leaders are not effective anyway. This particular rapper is very ignorant because he's being used. She's pimping him because they don't care about him rapping about black people killing black people with guns. They do care about the vote. That's going to keep them in power. But the situation is Kamala Harris is a charlatan anyway. And I've told you that when she was running for president. You see, black people did not overwhelmingly come out and support her until Joe Biden basically picked her to be his running mate. Kamala Harris does not have any love or so-called love for black people. She don't. I mean, look again. Look who she married. She didn't marry no black man. Her wealth and power is not empowering any black people, and these people are fools. And so it does not surprise me that she's doing that. So it's another situation where blacks need to really open their eyes and look at this thing and see what's going on.
I think Trump gave us this fear that if he gets reelected, that the world is going to crash and our future generations won't be able to flourish because of some of the executive orders, some of the laws and bills and things that he believes in, and some of the support groups that support him are dividing the country. So I think most people will say, hey, I might as well just vote for Biden because Biden's the lesser of two evils, right?
Well, it's a case between the wolf and the fox. The fox being the Democrats and the wolf being the Republican Party, but the outcome is the same. They both will eat you up. One will eat you up slower and be cunning about it, and the other will just go out and devour you. And so the situation is that black people have to stop investing in those political systems and start investing in themselves. They have to start investing in their communities, and they need to start supporting people that represent their interests. Kamala Harris does not represent their interests. Joe Biden does not. Trump does not. So again, you get what you, and I said this before, you get what you vote for. You get what you invest in. Black people have to start investing in themselves.
Mm. So, good brother, there's so many TV shows out there nowadays. I mean, have you seen The Godfather of Harlem yet?
Yes, I have. And you're talking about Bumpy Johnson, a historic figure in Harlem that was very good friends with Malcolm X. The good thing about that is an educational piece for all black people to see how you had one guy that was basically involved with the mob, crime, drugs, that type of thing. Then you had Malcolm that was uplifting people with the Nation of Islam. And then you had Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, my favorite politician, who basically was a Christian preacher in Harlem at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and also an activist for black people. But they all came together on the black issues, fighting the so-called white mob that was kind of trying to control the number racket in Harlem and drugs and that type of thing. But this is just a synopsis of how you can look at that picture rather, and see how black people can use that model to come together.